Hey everyone, welcome to Malleus Gaming. I'm your host Malleus, and in today's episode of Total Tactics, we're going to be covering cavalry tactics and formations. Whether you're new to the game, or a Total War veteran, I hope this video will help you out. Now, let's ride for Ruin and the Red Dawn! To begin with, let's go over the different types of cavalry. In Total War Warhammer 3, cavalry can generally be divided into three different types: light, heavy, and monstrous. There are also flying cavalry units, but we'll take a look at them in another video. Not every army has all types of cavalry, and some armies don't have any mounted troops at all. Looking at you, dwarfs! Light cavalry includes units such as Illyrian Reavers, Goblin Wolf Riders, and Marauder Horsemen. Typically these units are lightly armored, quick, and carry range weapons. Heavy cavalry consists of units like Knights of the Realm, Black Knights, and Horned One Riders. These units are generally heavily armored and shielded, with reasonable speed, and are built for either prolonged melee combat or shock assault charges. Monstrous cavalry includes units like Demigryph Knights, Skull Crushers of Khorne, and Ogre Crushers. These units are typically extremely heavily armed and armored, well able to defeat opposing infantry and cavalry units, though they are fewer in number. The most obvious strength of cavalry units on the battlefield would be their mobility. Their increased speed compared to infantry units allows them to be where you want them, when you want them. You can use their speed to pick and choose your engagements, as well as position them in a way that will have the most impact on the battle. The next major strength of cavalry units is their value as shock assault troops. With their sheer speed and mass, cavalry units are well able to simply crash into enemy units and cause significant amounts of damage. Units armed with lances have extremely high charge values, and so are very adept at repeatedly charging into enemy units to cause devastating amounts of casualties. The third major strength of cavalry units is their versatility. Your mounted troops can play multiple roles on the battlefield, and are the best reaction units you have in order to adapt to ever-changing conditions. You can counter enemy missile troops, defend your flanks from opposing cavalry, neutralize enemy artillery, reinforce weak points in your line, harass the enemy's battle line, or shatter their elite troops with a rear charge. The most significant weakness for cavalry units would be their size. While their sheer mass allows for high impact charges, it also makes them vulnerable to missiles and anti-large troops. Missile troops will have an easier time scoring hits on your mounted troops, and therefore you should do your best to keep them out of harm's way before committing to a charge. Anti-large units, such as spearmen or halberdiers, typically can negate the charge bonus of your cavalry and do extra damage. It is best to not tackle these units head-on, instead flanking or hitting them in the rear to negate their defenses. Additionally, mounted troops generally need large open spaces to fight effectively. Terrain such as forests or narrow city streets reduce their speed and mobility. As a result, they aren't as capable in the cramped confines of a siege battle, and are best reserved for hunting down any isolated enemies who made it into the city, or reinforcing any wavering defenses. Think of your cavalry units as water. Water doesn't keep a single shape, but changes and adapts its form based on its environment. Your mounted troops should be constantly moving, flowing, receding to draw in the enemy, before crashing over them in a wave. The reason this is relevant is due to the multiple ways in which you can utilize your mounted troops. When you use cavalry defensively, it's typically to protect the flanks of your armies. This is often when your opponent has control of the field due to cavalry superiority. Neutralizing your opponent's strength will be key to victory, and by doing so you will then be able to transition from defense to offense. Units such as Blood Knights or Demigryph Knights with halberds are fantastic in these roles due to their armor-piercing, anti-large attacks. Control of the battlefield can be gained either through superior numbers or by the elimination of opposing mounted units. This is when you strike with your cavalry. Use them to sweep around the enemy's front line, hitting their missile units and artillery. Even if you don't outright destroy your opponent's backline troops, you'll at the very least cause significant amounts of damage. This will severely hamper their effectiveness for the rest of the battle. Once the front lines have met each other, and the supporting elements of the enemy army have been dealt with, that is the time for the final hammer blow. The Hammer and Anvil is a devastatingly effective tactic to use with your cavalry units. It's also quite straightforward. When the enemy's main line is engaged with your own forces, the Anvil, you simply charge your mounted troops, the Hammer, into the rear of their formations. Shock cavalry, with their high charge bonuses, are perfect in this role, as they'll be able to cause massive amounts of damage before pulling back and charging in again. The enemy troops will take a huge hit to their morale as well due to the combination of being flanked and sustaining heavy damage. A few carefully timed charges could lead to the enemy's entire battle line breaking, granting you victory, and allowing you to run down your opponent's fleeing troops. The tactics mentioned so far work for both light and heavy cavalry, but are primarily effective with the heavier units. Some tactics that are especially useful with the more maneuverable lighter units are the false charge and the feigned retreat. Both of these help manipulate your opponent's units into positions favorable for you. The false charge is best with multiple units, either on the edge of the enemy's formation or on isolated enemy units. It involves charging one unit straight at the enemy, so they brace themselves to take the charge head on. At the last minute, you stop your charging unit, veering them off in another direction. At the same time, though, you flank in with another unit, hitting the distracted enemy in their unprotected side or rear. This is great to help pick off any unit that is unsupported, but dangerous from the front, such as braced spearmen. The feigned retreat is a great tactic to use with ranged cavalry units, and was famously used by Genghis Khan's Mongolian forces. Initially, you must be aggressive, sending in your units to grab the enemy's attention. As they try to chase you, you just pull back your units, luring them away from the rest of their army. This is why ranged units are preferable, as you'll be able to constantly do damage as you kite your opponent. Pulling enemy units out of their battle line can leave holes for you to exploit, or to just weaken them overall, by destroying their now isolated units. Due to their more fluid and adaptive nature, cavalry units are less formation dependent than infantry units. However, I have been able to make use of two in my battles. The first is the Echelon formation. This is a great formation for ranged cavalry units as it stops them from getting in each other's way as you maneuver them around. Depending on what flank they're on, you want to angle the Echelon either left or right. You'll be able to run rings around your opponent and fire much more effectively with your units. With that said, the units have to be able to fire in a full 360-degree arc to make the most use out of the Echelon. The second formation I've been able to make use of is the Wedge. It's best for when you're unable to get around your opponent's line, and instead need to go through it. I got the best use out of it when using Bretonnian cavalry, and setting up their knights in their own individual wedges. I then made an even bigger wedge by forming them all up. If nothing else, this formation just looks really cool. I placed the hero at the tip, serving as the point of this spear. Lock them in formation, and charge. The impetus of their charge should allow you to punch through the enemy battle line, and I advise looking for a weak point to unleash this on. This formation can be a bit unwieldy to maneuver around, so pick your target wisely. Once you've broken through, you can proceed to recharge their infantry, or go after their backline units. Now charge forth, for the lady, for Bretonnia! Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it'll help you out in your future battles. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. It'd really help out the channel and would mean a lot to me. If you have any questions, see anything you disagree with, or if you have any tips of your own, please let me know in the comments. You can find my socials in the description below, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!